Number 9. A Confederacy of Dunces by John Kennedy Toole. A Confederacy of Dunces is a picaresque novel by American novelist John Kennedy Toole which appeared in 1980, 11 years after Toole's suicide. Published through the efforts of writer Walker Percy, who also contributed a foreword, and Toole's mother, the book became first a cult classic, then a mainstream success. It earned Toole a posthumous Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 1981, and is now considered a canonical work of modern literature of the southern United States. The book's title refers to an epigraph from Jonathan Swift's essay, Thoughts on Various Subjects, Moral and Diverting: When a true genius appears in the world, you may know him by this sign, that the dunces are all in confederacy against him. Its central character, Ignatius J. Riley, is an educated but slothful 30-year-old man living with his mother in the uptown neighborhood of early 1960s New Orleans who, in his quest for employment, has various adventures with colorful French Quarter characters. Toole wrote the novel in 1963 during his last few months in Puerto Rico. Number 10. In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. In Cold Blood is a non-fiction book by American author Truman Capote, first published in 1966. It details the 1959 murders of 4 members of the Herbert Clutter family in the small farming community of Holcomb, Kansas. When Capote learned of the quadruple murder, before the killers were captured, he decided to travel to Kansas and write about the crime. He was accompanied by his childhood friend and fellow author Harper Lee, and together they interviewed local residents and investigators assigned to the case and took thousands of pages of notes. The killers, Richard Hickok and Perry Smith, were arrested 6 weeks after the murders and later executed by the state of Kansas, and Capote ultimately spent 6 years working on the book. When finally published, In Cold Blood was an instant success, and today is the second biggest-selling true crime book in publishing history, behind Vincent Bugliosi's 1974 book Helter Skelter about the Manson murders. Some critics consider Capote's work the original non-fiction novel, though other writers had already explored the genre, such as Rodolfo Walsh in Appalachian Massacre 1957. It has been especially lauded for its eloquent prose, extensive detail, and simultaneous triple narrative, which describes the lives of the murderers, the victims, and other members of the rural community in alternating sequences. The psychologies and backgrounds of Hickok and Smith are given special attention, as well as the complex relationship that existed between them during and after the murders. In Cold Blood is regarded by critics as a pioneering work in the true crime genre, though Capote was disappointed that the book failed to win the Pulitzer Prize. Critics have also noted that parts of the book, including important details, differed from the real events. Number 11. Lord of the Flies by William Golding. Lord of the Flies is a 1954 novel by Nobel Prize-winning English author William Golding about a group of British boys stuck on an uninhabited island who try to govern themselves with disastrous results. Its stance is on the already controversial subjects of human nature and individual welfare versus the common good earned it position 68 on the American Library Association's list of the 100 most frequently challenged books of 1999. The novel is a reaction to the youth novel The Coral Island by R. M. Ballantyne. Published in 1954, Lord of the Flies was Golding's first novel. Although it was not a great success at the time, selling fewer than 3,000 copies in the United States during 1955, before going out of print it soon went on to become a bestseller. It has been adapted to film twice in English, in 1963 by Peter Brook and 1990 by Harry Hook, and once in Filipino 1976. In 2005 the novel was chosen by Time magazine as one of the 100 best English-language novels from 1923 to 2005. It was awarded a place on both lists of Modern Library 100 Best Novels, reaching number 41 on the editor's list, and 25 on the reader's list. In 2003, the novel was listed at number 70 on the BBC's survey The Big Read. Number 12. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. The Alchemist Portuguese O Alquimista is a novel by Paulo Coelho first published in the year 1988. Originally written in Portuguese by its Brazilian-born author, It has been translated into at least 67 languages as of October 2009. An allegorical novel, The Alchemist follows a young Andalusian shepherd named Santiago in his journey to Egypt, after having a recurring dream of finding treasure there. The book is an international bestseller. According to AFP, it has sold more than 65 million copies in 56 different languages, becoming one of the best-selling books in history and setting the Guinness World Record for most translated book by a living author. Number 13. Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. Tuesdays with Morrie is a memoir by American writer Mitch Albom. The story was later recreated by Thomas Rickman into a TV movie of the same name directed by Mick Jackson, which aired on December 5, 1999 and starred Jack Lemmon and Hank Azaria. The book topped the New York Times non-fiction bestsellers of 2000. An unabridged audiobook was also published, narrated by Albom himself. The appendix of the audiobook contains several minutes of excerpts from the audio recordings Albom made in his conversations with Morrie Schwartz in preparation for writing the book. In 2007, the 10th anniversary of the book's publishing, a new edition with an afterword by Mitch Albom was released. Number 14. The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. The Picture of Dorian Gray is a philosophical novel by the writer Oscar Wilde, first published complete in the July 1890 issue of Lippincott's Monthly magazine. The magazine's editor feared the story was indecent, and without Wilde's knowledge, deleted roughly 500 words before publication. Despite the censorship, The Picture of Dorian Gray offended the moral sensibilities of British book reviewers, some of whom said that Oscar Wilde merited prosecution for violating the laws guarding the public morality. In response, Wilde aggressively defended his novel and art in correspondence with the British press, although he personally made excisions of some of the most controversial material when revising and lengthening the story for book publication the following year. The longer and revised version of The Picture of Dorian Gray, published in book form in 1891, featured an aphoristic preface, a defense of the artist's rights and of art for art's sake, based in part on his press defenses of the novel the previous year. The content, style, and presentation of the preface made it famous in its own right, as a literary and artistic manifesto. In April 1891, the publishing firm of Ward, Locke & Company, who had distributed the shorter, more inflammatory, magazine version in England the previous year, published the revised version of The Picture of Dorian Gray. The only novel written by Wilde, The Picture of Dorian Gray exists in several versions, the 1890 magazine edition in 13 chapters, with important material deleted before publication by the magazine's editor, J. M. Stoddart. The uncensored version submitted to Lippincott's Monthly magazine for publication also in 13 chapters, with all of Wilde's original material intact, first published in 2011 by Harvard University Press. And the 1891 book edition in 20 chapters. As literature of the 19th century, The Picture of Dorian Gray is an example of Gothic fiction with strong themes interpreted from the legendary Faust. Number 15. A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. A Clockwork Orange is a dystopian novel by Anthony Burgess published in 1962. Set in a near-future English society that has a subculture of extreme youth violence, the novella has a teenage protagonist, Alex, who narrates his violent exploits and his experiences with state authorities intent on reforming him. When the state undertakes to reform Alex to redeem him, the novella asks, at what cost? The book is partially written in a Russian-influenced argot called Nadsat. According to Burgess, it was a Judas Pritt written in just 3 weeks. In 2005, A Clockwork Orange was included on Time magazine's list of the 100 best English-language novels written since 1923, and it was named by Modern Library and its readers as one of the 100 best English-language novels of the 20th century. The original manuscript of the book has been located at McMaster University in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada since the institution purchased the documents in 1971. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed and tell me what you think in the comments. Click subscribe channel, because I post new videos every days. Usually. Thanks.